Hello and welcome to your first news summary. I hope to do many of these 5-minute breakdowns of yesterday's news for you to keep up to date without having to kill yourself looking through every single journal like I do. I literally spend more than an hour every single morning reading every single news platform that I find reliable in the country. Today, I would like to address the significantly problematic bill being rushed through the House of Commons. In fact, there are 3 of them. There is Bill C2, Bill C4, and Bill C5. The 3 of these bills are counter-democratic and likely have a long journey through the courts, as they do not match the precedent already set on most of these issues, particularly pertaining to privacy and indigenous rights. Bill C2 is a border bill, allegedly. However, within it are provisions for mail search and seizure without advance notice. If someone is suspected of illegal activity in relation to smuggling, guns, or drugs, Canada Post can take the mail and give it to the police to search through. They only need to issue a notice within 60 days after taking the mail. It also allows for the expelling of asylum seekers with no right to appeal, and it provides the government the power to demand your personal information and search history from your internet service provider, whether that's Videotron, Bell, Rogers, or anyone else. The ISP is unable to say no without incurring major fines. If the bill passes as it is, they will not need a warrant to do this. C4 is a tax bill, allegedly, that fulfills Carney's promise to cut the lowest tax bracket. It also allows federal government to access voter information and ignore provincial laws around privacy for individuals. It seems that this is in order to better target voters and enable them to vote for whatever party they want. It would work retroactively for 20 years. They would be able to access 20 years of private information in defiance of any regional laws. They could ignore any provincial laws that are in place in order to do this. They hid these privacy violations, clearly ignoring charter rights in a tax bill to avoid scrutiny. The courts are probably going to block this, as it is an overreach to a degree which should astonish every single one of us, and an undemocratic and cynical attack on rights from the Liberal government. C5 allows for the federal government to avoid accountability once again by bypassing many regulatory processes that are in place to keep the government in check. It is surely a response to rulings such as Judge Blackhawk's ruling on the nuclear dump site in Kaebowek, which I wrote a huge 2,500-word article on that on the rover, which is linked in the description. Because the government keeps losing in court over their regulatory frameworks not being sufficient enough, they seem to want to bypass that. They keep approaching these issues with a hard hand and trying to force through huge environmental projects that could cause major damage and ignore treaty rights and consultation rights, but Unrip laws introduced by the Trudeau government are likely to stop this in the long and short term. However, this means that they will have to take it to court, and the government is likely going to start resource development before this goes to court, but we'll see what happens in the short and long term. The G7 summit is currently going on in Kananaskis, Alberta. Every member of the G7 was there yesterday, but Donald Trump exited the conference early. He cited the conflict that is rapidly escalating in Iran, instigated unprompted by Israel, as the primary concern. He said, "We did everything I had to do at the G7. We had a good G7." This is from the AP News aboard Air Force One before landing early Tuesday morning. The Globe and Mail yesterday broke a story about a trade deal being in the works between Canada and the USA, putting a 30-day deadline on the deal being brokered. Mark Carney and Donald Trump have agreed to negotiate with the aim of striking, within the coming 30 days, an economic and security deal that would end the US-Canada trade war. This is from the Prime Minister's office, as reported by the Globe and Mail. Whether this occurs or not, we are yet to see, considering Trump's incredible penchant for spontaneous changes of heart and rapidly changing demeanors. He tends to just decide to tweet something one day which ends deals and disrupts major supply chains globally, as well as relationships across different allies. Meanwhile, in Canada, wildfires across the country have burned 3,098,205.9 hectares as of today, according to the CIFFC. The wildfire season is off to a terrible start for all of us and is probably going to continue on this level during the summer. Carney has proposed a Kananaskis wildfire charter, including greater equipment interoperability between G7 members. This means that international states would be able to help each other better by going over the border and providing equipment to each other, because there are wildfires in Europe, in the United States, and in Canada. This is not just something that is affecting Canada, although we have a particularly large amount of trees and logging is a huge industry here, which is why we see it in particular in Canada, all across the country. Meanwhile, DHL is stopping shipments because of a labor dispute. Originally, they brought in new laborers as replacements for their union workers, but new labor laws going into effect on June 20th have made them stop shipping to talk through the dispute with the union Unifor. This is not the only labor dispute going on in the country. We have the STM in Montreal. We also have the labor dispute going on with Canada Post. There is a lot going on in the country in regards to labor, and this is a time for that because a lot of people are being paid low wages and want higher wages. And so there's many labor disputes going on with unions who feel that they do not have good collective bargaining to face modern realities of insane inflation and economic stagnation. So we will see how these shape out, and I will be back soon with another news update.